In this walkthrough, we're going to talk about how building blocks works and exactly what subjects are covered. First, how it works. Building blocks takes a different approach to teaching beat making and composition. It's highly interactive, very ear focused, and it takes place in a DAW environment. So you're essentially learning by doing. Let's take a look at a lesson. Each lesson consists of a video demonstration, which you see right now, and an interactive challenge. Here in the video demonstration, I go over whatever subject this lesson is covering. This is the very first lesson. We talk about drums, setting up our core kick, snare, and hi-hat drum groove. After you watch the video, you hop over to the challenge. And this is where we get into our DAW environment. So it starts by playing a hidden song. This is something you can hear, but you can't see it. Your job is to listen to it in the hidden side. Hop over to the visible side and recreate it. So I heard constant hi-hats. So I'm going to paint some hi-hats across. Listen again. Okay. Snares sound like they're on 2 and 4. Let's see. Kick. Bah, boom, boom, bah. Boom. Okay, great. Now, let's say I think this is it. This is correct. I think I've matched it exactly. I actually know that I haven't. I've purposely put in a couple wrong ones so you can see what happens. Let's submit it. Okay, so all the correct notes turn green, incorrect ones turn red, and missing ones are empty white box. So I can fix it. Here's the difference. These interactive challenges are what makes building blocks uniquely effective and separates us from the rest. They put actual experience around everything you learn, so it starts to become intuitive, and more importantly, trains your ear so that you can start making what you hear and feel. Now these lessons will build up track by track until you're recreating all three, drums, bass, and chord tracks. And each of the individual tracks are going to get more and more complex and more interesting. Now, along with these recreate lessons, there's also going to be create lessons in which you just compose, write your own tracks. So, for example, we might tell you to write a drum pattern, but include a specific element like velocity. Or maybe we'll give you a drum pattern and ask you to write a bass that goes along with it. Again, building up until you're writing all three tracks, drums, bass, and chords. And you can go into our studio, which is outside of the lessons, and just create freely like you would in a DAW. And there are more options here, like the ability to set the sound of each individual track. Finally, the last type of lesson we have is a quiz, which is just a multiple choice quiz to help solidify your memory. And our course map will walk you through the course lesson by lesson in a really productive order. So you don't have to think about which lessons to do next. And it'll also kind of change up the variety, switching between drums and bass chords so things don't get boring, things stay interesting. And it starts from the very beginning. So you don't have to have any prior experience to get started with Building Blocks 1. And if you do have prior experience, yes, some of the subjects that we cover you may already understand and know. However, you'd be surprised about the ear training. You may really understand a concept, yet when it's time to recognize it by ear or recreate music that's using that concept, you may not be able to do it. So it's a great challenge for your ear and worth trying even if you know some of the subjects already. Now let's talk about exactly what subjects are covered in Building Blocks 1. First, if you want a real detailed list of exactly what all of the lessons are going to be going over, just launch the course so you're here in the map and then click this view toggle at the top right. And you'll be in a table of contents. And now you can actually go in and see what every single lesson is going to be covered. But let me give you a brief overview of what we're going to be going over in Building Blocks 1. We'll be going over 3 tracks, drums, bass, and chords. Now you might be wondering, what about melody? What about the lead track? We're going to get into melody in Building Blocks 2. Building Blocks 1 is all about setting up a strong foundation with drums, bass, and chords. For the drums track, we're going to be talking about the kick, snare, and hi-hat, and how to use those 3 core drums to set up all sorts of different feels, and how to apply velocity to these drums to really make your drum grooves bounce. For the bass track,
We're going to go over how to create a rhythm that works well with the drums to create a strong rhythmic foundation. That relationship is so important. And how to use the bass to set up our tonality for the chords track. And for the chords track, we'll be going over multiple chord types, more importantly, how to voice them. And along with the standard block approach to playing chords, we'll also talk about how to arpeggiate them to create some linear movement.
And for all the tracks, we're going to talk about phrasing. Phrasing is giving your tracks a sort of conversational movement, rhythm. It makes them way more human and helps them connect to your listeners. Phrasing is very important. And then, of course, we're going to talk about how to make all three of these tracks work together to create a cohesive and awesome feel.
And as I mentioned before, the course map will walk you through lesson by lesson. But if you're more the kind of person that just likes to jump around, once you've subscribed, you can hop over to our table of contents, and then you can open any lesson at any time.
You can try the first couple lessons for free, no sign up required. If you're watching this video on our website right now, just hit the big launch button. If you're watching it somewhere else, just go to audiblegenius.com. If you like what you try, you can sign up for a low monthly subscription and you'll get access to Building Blocks 1, all of our future courses, of which there will be many, and the studio.